Here we are at Scratch again. This is what we set up yesterday. I'll go to My Stuff. We should find our project, Parque Prehistórico, Prehistoric Park, whatever you want to call it. Now, a couple of things here. We want to see inside, but I would also, in order for me to see it, it has to be shared, because I am going to be checking these. Now, the most important part is this, where we have the mammoth knocking down the trees. We have the camel or the llama and the horse doing their thing. The extra stuff that I'm going to add today is kind of a challenge. It won't be entirely perfectly working by the end of class, but I at least want to introduce some additional ideas for how this works. Now, what I did there, I moved around the tree so that the trees aren't moving from one spot to another. They're staying hidden before they move. But again, here is what I have. I have my woolly mammoth knocking down the trees. I have my llama and I have my horse scraping off the snow. And that's what I want to have at this point. Now, the other thing I can do, over time, my horse population could multiply. My horse could have baby horses. And over time, my population could grow. And the way I would do that is I go to create a clone of myself. So every 10 seconds, as I have it set up now, I will create a new horse. Populations do grow. So this is something that I would model in this ecosystem that I'm making. And now, forever, every 10 seconds that go by, I make a clone. And then I can give another set of instructions for when I start as a clone, what's going to happen. Now, really what I would want is to take this. I would hit my Command C button, and then I would make a copy and drag that over. And now, as soon as I hit the green flag, I should, every 10 seconds, let me make it down to 1 just to make sure it's working. So every 1 second now, I'm making a clone of the horse. So I have a population explosion very quickly. Now, I don't want to keep it at 1 second that I make a clone each time, because this thing will get very filled with horses very quickly. So I'll move this back to, let's say, 10 seconds. So our population of horses isn't that out of control. Now, I'll also give that to the llama or the camel, whatever we want to call it, so that both of these animals can reproduce over time. And I'll change the name of the zebra, since it's not really a zebra anymore. I'll change the names of the costumes, horse A and horse B. And I can also go over here and change the name from zebra to horse, so the sprite's actually a horse. If I want to change the llama to camel, I can, or change the tree, or the elephant, I guess I should probably change that to mammoth as well, because it's supposed to be a mammoth now and not an elephant. All right. So now every 10 seconds, I should see a new horse and a new llama. There they go. Or new llama. So my population is starting to grow, which means we're going to have to get that population under control at some point. Our mammoth should be knocking down the trees. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Why the trees are not getting knocked down now. It says when touching tree, the elephant pushes the tree. I guess the code for that would be in the tree. I might have to take a look at, because the elephant doesn't appear to be doing anything to the trees anymore. Let me check the tree. Oh, maybe it had, because I changed the name, now it's mammoth. It had been elephant. Maybe that was, okay. Now it recognizes the mammoth instead of elephant, so now it's knocking the trees down again. Good. All right, my mammoth population might also increase over time. So I could certainly pull that code over to the mammoth as well. Now, mammoths would probably breed more slowly than a horse or a llama or camel. But let me just make sure this is working first. You do notice that the horse population is definitely growing and the camel population is definitely growing. Now let's see about making a copy of that. Command C, or Control C, I'm sorry. Command C is on it if you're on a Windows compatible computer, and Control C is if you're on a Mac. Command C is if you're on a Mac. Control C is if you're on a PC. All right. So now create a clone. When I start a clone, now I'm going to be making copies of the mammoth as well. I didn't change the name of the costume. I left the names of the costumes as Elephant A and Elephant B, but let me just make sure. Okay. Ooh, that was perfect. So the elephant pushed down the tree, and I made a copy of my mammoth. So my mammoth population is also growing, but you notice a lot of these clones are actually trees that are already fallen over. So I'm going to have to fix that every time I start as a clone, it's going to have to start as costume, the tree costume, not the fallen costume where the tree's fallen over, but tree 1, so it's a standing tree. What was happening was it was making clones of itself as fallen trees already. Yes, there's a lot of stuff to keep track of here. Yes, I'm throwing a lot of different things at you at once. But if we can just get this part working well, that's great. I'm going to add a couple of other features here today, but we have reproducing horses, we have reproducing llamas, and we have reproducing mammoths. That's going to be a healthy population. However, over time, if you remember from the gizmo that we did, populations will get out of control if there's not something to control that population. And what they used to have in the Ice Age times in Siberia were lions and tigers. So let's introduce a lion. Lion can't be bigger than the mammoth, of course, so I need to make it smaller. Let's see maybe a 20. It's a little bit too small. The cave lion was a pretty big cat. Make it a little bit bigger. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the lion be kind of a remotely controlled thing, something that you as a player could actually move the lion around. First thing, I have the lion go to a specific spot at the beginning of the game. Now I'm going to introduce some keys here. So right now it says when the space key is pressed, but of course I don't want the space key. Let me use the up arrow, and I'll go to take 15 steps. And I would have to point it in a direction. So let's say I point it in the direction 90 degrees. Now look at this. It says up arrow is pressed. I press my up arrow, and it goes to the right because it says 90 degrees. If I want my up arrow to go up, that's 0 degrees. And then I would set up my up arrow to go up 0 degrees. There goes the lion up. Can't go down yet because I haven't programmed that. So the next thing I might want to do is when down arrow pressed, I would want to go down. So I'll have to point it not in the 0 degree direction, but the complete opposite of that, which would be 180 degrees, which it lets me do. Okay, so now I'm pointing down, and I'd move 10 steps. Every time I press the down arrow, now it goes down. Every time I press the up arrow, it goes up. Then I would do the same thing for left and right. So here we go for my right key pressed. Oh, left. I'll go left first. Same thing. I'll point it. Well, I'll move it 10 steps. I'll point it in the 270 or the, was it minus 90 degree direction. So now left it good. Now it goes upside down. I'll show you a way to fix that as well. And then one more when we go to the right, when the right arrow is pressed, we will move 10 steps and we will go 90 degrees. That's what we did at the beginning. Now when I hit the right arrow, it goes right. Left arrow goes left, although it's upside down. So what I want to do with that, I want to change, if I don't like the way it looks when it's going down like that, I want to choose, rotation style would be left, right. That way it's going to go left, right, but not up, down. So now my line goes left and the right. It goes up and down, but it doesn't go upside down at any point. My line stays right side up, which is what I want to do. So now I have kind of a key-controlled or keyboard-controlled lion, which is what I want to have. Now, the lion has 3 different costumes here, which I might want to make it look like the lion is moving. So let me give myself some space for some more code here. And I can give the impression that the lion is moving if I move this a little bit. Hold on. I can have it switch costumes. So switch costume, make it lion C, and wait 0.5 seconds. We won't have our lion going too fast, switching or stepping. We could do 0.1 seconds, it'd be very fast. So it switches from one costume to another, and that gives the impression that the lion is moving. I'll give myself a little bit more space here. I would put that inside of a forever loop. Well, hold on, let me... So there's the lion doing its walk. Just like the horse is walking. And seems like it's working okay. Now, again, that's not a perfect walk. There's other ways I could have that lion moving if I wanted to, but let me just for the moment have it like it is. The other thing I want to introduce, I want to have the lion, if I touch the mammoth, mammoths will kill lions. So I'll have the lion get killed if it touches the mammoth, because mammoths could trample lions pretty easily. So I'll just make a dead lion here. I'll X out the eyes with red, end of the lion. Make it a little bit thinner. Make an X over the eye so we know the lion's dead. Got trampled by a mammoth. Now you see it's already happening on the screen. And actually it's switching between, my line right now is switching between, okay, I have to switch this. So yeah, so there's my walking lion. I have it switching between costume A and costume B. So it's still walking. And then costume C is where it would die when it touches the mammoth. So let me introduce that, move this over. So something else I want to introduce into my forever loop is an if-then statement. These are very common in computer programming also. If one thing happens, then another thing happens. So if touching mammoth, then I would want to switch the costume to lion C, where the lion is dead, and I would want to stop all of the scripts so that everything stops in my activity. So now if I hit my lion into the mammoth, okay. So maybe I'll have to come back and, well, okay, there would be a way to fix having the lion move even when it's dead, but I won't do that at this moment. What I'd rather do is actually get to where we would broadcast a message, and we'll call this message failed or failure failed, whatever you want to call it. So that's going to end the game. You notice that when the lion gets trampled, that nothing moves. That's the end of the game. You are taking the place of the lion, and therefore what we're going to do is we're going to make a sprite that's going to say something like game over or mission failed. Your goal as a lion was to keep the animal populations under control, but you just got trampled by a woolly mammoth, and therefore your mission as a lion trying to keep everything, all the populations under control, has not worked out. You got squished, you could say all sorts of things. I don't know, maybe mission failed isn't the best, but this is just a first time that we're getting to use Scratch. Maybe for some of you, you're already familiar with it, but for those who don't have a lot of experience with Scratch, I wanted to introduce you at least to have some opportunity to get an idea of how programming, gaming, designing a game would actually work. So what I would do is when the green flag is clicked, I would want that mission failed to be hidden. So I would hide. And then if I receive the message, when I receive the message failed, that's when everything is stopping. I'll keep it in one particular location. And that's when everything is stopping, so then I would show. Now, I didn't fix the lion yet so that the lion doesn't keep moving. But, basically the game is over when the everything and all the scripts stop, because nothing's going to react when all of the scripts stop. Now, again, I could fix the lion, but that would take a little bit of extra work, and I just want to get us to a point where we have at least a very, very basic working game to start out here. So now I'm with the horse again. Something else I want to add is maybe we have a point system so that if the lion eats a horse, then you get some points. And again, we probably will practice a little more of this a little bit later on in the year, but this is just like a first introduction, first project. If you get to this point and everything works and it looks good, and I'm going to check the code and I'm going to check how it works, you have nothing to worry about. You don't necessarily have to keep going here, but I'm just showing a couple of other features for those who might be interested in a little bit more of a challenge. Here you go. So now I'm making a variable. Variables, like their name suggests, can have different values. I'll call this variable points. So we'll get points every time I eat a horse. We could just say like horses eaten, llamas eaten. I'm just going to keep it at points right now. Keep it fairly simple. We'll see how these two first videos go. If people want something more complex than that, we're almost at the end of the semester, but maybe I could post one more video to show the way to refine this game. So that's interesting. I don't want that to be happening. So let me drag the point thing to the llamas also. The llamas, when they get eaten, I'm going to have to fix a little bit of code here. When the lion eats the llama, I'm going to want the same thing to happen. And let's Get that down there. So now it should be that whenever I hit the green flag, we start the game over. And I'm also going, well, let me see. So I'm going to want to fix a couple of things here. I have some invisible creatures moving. I'm going to have to fix that. All right, so you see some strange things are happening here. That's probably because my code isn't very well organized. Oops, but I did just get this knocked out. All right, now it's just okay. Now let me figure out what needs to still happen here. So when it was cloning, it wasn't actually, they weren't showing themselves each time. That was part of the problem. So they were disappearing and then cloning themselves. All right, now let me try, oops. So if I can grab, a horse. Wait. So it's not giving me any points. Why is that happening? You can see the scratch itself is not super sensitive, which is why sometimes you can avoid getting crushed by the mammoth. Now let me take a look at this code that I've put together. It says, so it says my variable. It doesn't say change points by 1. I'm going to have to fix that. Change points by 1. Make sure we're all agreeing. Set points to change points by 1. I'll have to do that for the llama and the horse, and then I'll put that every time we start over, it sets points to 0. And I'm still getting invisible. So I'm going to have to fix the llama to show every time the llama clones itself. That's the llama that's cloning itself without being seen. Okay, so now when I get the green flag, I should see a llama, I should see a horse. Ooh, and I just ate a llama, and I got a point. And I'll try to eat another. I'll try to eat the horse. All right, and I got a point. Now, if you wanted, you could add levels. You could do all sorts of things. Oh, boy, I'm still getting... So the clone is not showing itself now. I would have to put, when I start as a clone, I would also have to say show. But beyond that, we're kind of close to getting done what I was hoping to have. The very last thing, I want to just add a couple of additional features here to show how this might work. So it does get a little messy here. It can get a little bit disorganized on this screen. What I want to do, like I said, there was a way of, I probably should pull these down to make more room. I can use an if, then, else statement, which is another very useful tool in computer programming. So if touching mammoth, everything is going to stop. Else, I'm allowed to still move. That's what I'm going to do to adjust this. Now, it still won't work perfectly because the sensing on Scratch is not 100%. I'm sure you would see glitches in any sort of a video game. I'm just going to make a copy of this, Command C. Now, I don't want to swap all of the code. I want to make sure that I keep my directional movements here. So left, I want it to point in the minus 90 degree direction, but the right, I want it to point in the 90 degree direction. So I want to make sure that I have my directions done right. Now I'll hit Command C again, make another copy, and I will move this to, again, anything I don't want, I just pull it right out of the coding area, and it doesn't need anything else beyond that. All right, and I'll make Command V again, and I swap in my code, and it should all work now. So if it's touching the mammoth, it'll stop. But if it's not touching the mammoth, it'll go. So let me see if I can run into the mammoth here dead, and I can't move. I'm hitting left, right, up, down. It's not actually moving at all. That was one feature that I wanted to add. I have some other possibilities of things I might want to do as well, but let me just double check to make sure we're going well. I think that horse got eaten. Now I've run out of horses. And I only have llamas because once the horses are gone, they're gone. You can't make more copies of a horse or more clones of a horse if the horse are gone. Okay, so there's an example where the sensing wasn't perfect. It didn't really touch the mammoth well enough. It touched it well enough to stop the game, but it didn't touch it well enough to freeze its position. This time around, yes, it did touch it well enough to freeze its position. Restarting the game every time you just hit the green flag. Now, there are some other things. If this were actually like an actual ecosystem, there's a couple of other things I might want to do. I just want to see. It doesn't seem to be... I'm just going to double check here. It doesn't seem to be related to the left and right. Now it's locked again. I'm just testing this. Ignore that message up top there. I'll probably get others also. Let me just run the lion into the mammoth a couple of more times just to make sure that it's actually stopping. It appears to be. It's not going to be perfect. No computer program is. But something else I might want to keep track of here, in addition to the number of points I might get for the lion, I might want to keep track of the total number of llamas. I might want to keep track of the total number of horses to see if my ecosystem can be maintained within a reasonable boundary. You saw that I ate all of the horses, and therefore there were no horses left. That's not a good situation. I would want to keep it balanced so that I eat enough horses that, they don't run out of food. I mean, I could put in a lot more things. I could put in grass for them to eat. I could put in, energy levels for the lion and energy levels for the horse and the llama. All I'm going to do now is just keep track of the number of horses and llamas that I have. Now, I'm going to switch the variable, but of course this is horses, so I'm going to have to change that to llama. Let's see, make sure they're all... I don't want my llama to keep track of horses, but it will, because the code is the code, and whatever the code tells the program to do, that's what the program's going to do. If I have a llama get eaten, I would want the points to go down by 1 and have to make sure that's a llama. All right, I can do the same thing with the horse. I can put the horses starting at... Actually, so let me get this stuff set up first. So change horses by 1. And I would actually want to start the horses at 1, not at 0, because as soon as the game begins, I have a horse there. And then I have the llamas. Set the llamas to 1. And this is still, that was something I was playing around with earlier, but I didn't like how that turned out, so we'll just get rid of that. Ignore that part right there. The horse is at 0. Change horses by 1. And then I have to decrease the number of horses by -1 if a horse gets eaten. So now you can see I have 1 horse, 1 llama. If they spawn, ooh, and again, that wasn't super sensitive that time. All right, if I let them spawn, whoops, okay, I got to start paying attention a little bit more here. So if my lion goes for the horse, eats the llama. Oh, I didn't quite, like I said, it's not super sensitive. And I do have, so I ate a horse. The numbers are not going down like they should. I just ate another llama. I should be down to 1 of each. Oops, and I hit a mammoth. Scratch may not allow me to go to negative numbers. Let me just retype it again. Maybe it just didn't, it's not registering properly or something. I'm not sure. So if I go -1, give it another try. Now that horse, ooh. Now, so I will not eat the first horse. Oh, I should be able to eat the first horse. It's just, it's not very sensitive. Oh, I did eat the horse. Didn't go down by 1, though. Huh. Well, let me chase after the llamas and see what happens. So I have 2 llamas. Now I have 3 llamas. That number's keeping track of them properly. But if I eat a llama, now I have 4 llamas. I can't eat any of them. There, I ate 1. Ooh, and the number did go down there. So I'd really have to recheck the code to make sure everything. Still don't know why it says 1 horse there. But if I eat a llama, will it always go down in number? I will double check the code because the horses should be going down by -1. That's very strange. Okay. But if we can get a program working by this point, I think we would call that a 100% project. So let's see if we can make progress like this. You know, we have a mammoth clearing out trees. We have a lion that's eating the horses and the llamas, keeping their populations under control. Yes, there are a couple of glitches to work out. Nothing works perfectly the first time around. But I think if we can get to this point, we're doing pretty darn well. And the only challenge for us will be as the mammoth population grows, what do we do with our lion? But for now, if we're at this point and we only have a couple of class periods to do it, I think we're good enough. And I think with that game over, it's a good point to finish this video. Thank you.